connect a customer with production? And can I turn a regular production into a smart factory? Think about 1987, and you want to become a tailor. So this person on the table is obviously me, and behind there's my boss, my master tailor. He is a master tailor, and I'm not. I try to learn everything about it, what is so special about making suits, and I try hard. I mean, it takes at that time about 40 hours to produce a suit, and I hope that it is of a well quality so that he approves it and for his customers. So I'm thinking about what makes him so special. Why is that? What makes him successful? And again, think about a time where there is no internet, there's no mobile phone, there is no OK Google and Hey Siri, there is no Khan Academy, and there is no YouTube videos, DIYs or whatsoever. So practically the only thing that you can learn something at that time is reading books. There are books, of course. And building relationships, talking to people, watch and listen, try to understand and try to observe what they do, what makes them successful. So I'm thinking about him, and I'm constantly watching him, and I try to understand what is it that connects him to the customer. And I start understanding that he has this obsession with customers' know-how. He really dives deep into his clients. He knows their traits, he knows their behavior, how they would wear a suit, what kind of pockets they want, how there's their posture, how they like to wear them. He even put small fabrics behind the ties so that they can easier find these items and combine them together. And sometimes he was even invited to their homes to watch their wardrobes and observe everything and suggest some new suits or some new shirts or whatsoever for the next season. So he's really into it. He's really understanding his clients and his customers. And also what he understands is his toolbox. Now, again, this is a very small tailor shop. We are 8 people, so there's no big machine park or there's no big technology. But he knows very well about this. He knows about all the scissors and needles and the materials, the fabrics, what kind of buttons are very well with what kind of fabrics, what kind of linings would people want. And he knows about his workforce. These 8 people that we were, he knew very much everything about us. Who would make the nicest buttonholes, who would make the nicest shoulder, who is making the finishing that people want, or his customers want. And then he puts everything together. And then this kind of magic happens. And this magic happens because he knows everything about his world of complexity. And I don't know if you have ever had this moment of buying something or trying something, and you get this kind of little smile on your face because you like yourself. And that is not so often when you have to do with businessmen. You know, people play cool and they have their suits and ties and whatsoever. But when you have these people standing in front of a mirror and smiling because the product is right and they like what they see, that's actually a moment. It's a magic moment. So that's what I embraced at that time. And then I moved on, of course. I learned a lot. I moved on. And then it's 2015. And I'm just assigned to become the boss of 4,000 people. And I can tell you, if you ever want to physically feel complexity, then you surround yourself with 4,000 people, which is like in a rock concert, and try to feel responsible for them, and try to feel the complexity of these people, the different expertise, the different personalities, the different abilities of all of them. So I was asking myself about what can I learn from this time, and what can I possibly do to make this company fit also for the next fourth industrial revolution for the next years to come, for technology that is on the way. And I'm trying to deeply dive into this. 4,000 machines, 4,000 people, 2 million shirts, 1 million suits, 500,000 women's wear pieces. So a huge complexity overall. And then there is this time in 2015, and it's now even further, of endless flow of information. I mean, we are overwhelmed every day from information, and we are even more flat. I mean, 20 years ago, it was not so easy to gather information. Nowadays, information is flat, is everywhere. And with information comes innovation. So the new workforce that we hire, the new people that we hire, the so-called Generation Ys and Zs, the millennials, everyone expects this kind of flat hierarchy, this flat information flow, and this easiness of being in touch with each other. So beaming this factory into a smart factory is not only a technical exercise, it's actually something that has to do a lot with people, making things flat and making things available for everyone. And we were thinking about how does a factory look like when it is smart? How does a production look like when it produces only what is needed? And we were rethinking the whole concept of a factory. Now, if you think about your smartphone, I mean, you can open it, and if you have opened ever your smartphone, you see that it's very dense. You know, there's not so much in it. There's not so much space. So we measured actually the used volume of our factory, and we figured out that it's just about 8%. 92% was air, you know. Think about your smartphone 9 times bigger because of air. That's a weird thing. So we started to dive into technology and into this 3D space planning technologies and try to understand what's the new technology coming in. And we talk about robotics, and we are not talking about man versus machine, I mean robotics versus people, but we talk about an integration of all that into one kind of machine that builds the machine. And besides that, we live in digital times. Every one of you here is physically here, but every one of you has a digital copy as well. While you are sitting here and listening and talking maybe to your neighbor, one part of you is also being in the internet. I mean, you have your Facebook account, your LinkedIn account, your email, maybe you write a blog or whatsoever. So you have this physical presence and you have this digital presence as well. And there's no either or. You didn't give up your physical friends because of adding some Facebook friends. And the same behavior we tried to implement in our factory. So we tried to build this digital copy of what's actually there. That means everything that we can imagine and that we see becomes a copy, gets a copy. Everything is connected within each other, and everything will have a digital copy in this factory. And once we've done this, then we can start connecting this. And that's a magic moment, because then you have a factory that's actually producing goods, and you have a digital copy that's actually producing data. And with this data, you can do a lot. I mean, you can start understanding harmony. And machine data is like music. So what we started to do is measuring every component. And we talk about a lot of components again here. We measure 26 million data sets of machine data every day. And we have about 500,000 interactions from our workforce with machines or with the process every day. So you get to know you get some data where you find patterns. And this is again, when you see machine data, it's like music, it's like a tact. And you can start analyzing this, and you can start working with these data and make predictions or make real-time analysis. You can manage the whole factory way better than you can ever do this with your gut feeling or with what you see. So it's about this connection, and it's about this interconnection between physical and digital objects that struck me. But then the question is, furthermore, if we can manage our real time or our daytime better, can we maybe look into the future? And that's something that is even more interesting, because that might sound weird, but this is something that you do in your private life as well. So the next thing that we are thinking about is, can we actually, from the data of the past, make predictions to the future? And that's something, again, you do in your private life every day. When you type in Google golf, the word golf, Google will know if you're looking for a car or if you're looking for sport. Why does it know it? Because it knows your behavior. It reads your data. It reads your search behavior and your browsing behavior. So it understands from the past and from your usage who you are, what you do, and what it is about. And besides, if you go to music streaming services, it's the same. You go on Spotify and you listen to some artists, and then you start get suggestions. You get genres and you get lists, music lists and such. So this kind of prediction based on who you are in the digital world is quite interesting, and I'd say totally unused in today's manufacturing fields. Now what we did here is, and we started just to dive into this a little bit, we made a pilot about quality, because we wanted to increase the quality and we wanted to have a persistent quality. So we dived into this data and we made a pilot, and with 93% accuracy, we could determine who, the operator would make what kind of mistake on what kind of model in the shift tomorrow. That sounds weird if I know what's going on with my operators in the next days to come. But that's something that happens nowadays, and we talk very much about AI. So everyone talks about deep learning, but it's sometimes we have no idea where or how to use it. This is actually very useful. We start diving into this data and start making predictions, and then the next thing is going to be decision making based on that. So if I know what kind of person is making what kind of mistake on what kind of model, then I can start making countermeasures and counteractions and start managing people and skills and operations differently. And that's really a total game changer when it comes to managing this kind of complexity and this kind of technology. So if we think about an Industry 4.0 approach, many people think about something technical that is there, and I can buy this and I can just work with it. In fact, it's not. It's embracing technology and implementing it, and it is not available yet. Diving into smart factories concepts or Industry 4.0 is something that you create the way on while walking. This is not there. And you see this person here, this woman, she is actually checking the cutting quality with augmented reality, something that we all know from Pokemon Go in the recent years. But here we just use it as an enabler for people to do a better job. So again, when we think about technology, it's this old question about, am I going to be replaced with this new devices or robots or automation? And I believe not, but I am absolutely sure it will be very different to what we have done in the past and how we are connected in the past. So can I actually connect a customer to a production? I believe yes, because connecting the dots will give us a lot more insights about the customers. And people talk about this buzzword customer centricity right now. This is not new. If I think about my former boss 30 years ago, it is actually quite old. Thinking about the customer and doing something for him which is best is something which is very old. This was in handcrafts thousands of years old. So if we build technology and can do this kind of behavior on a massive scale, that's the challenge of Industry 4.0, and that's, I believe, is coming. So can we do things here to really move customers nearer to production and produce the right garments and the right apparel for them? I think we can. Thank you very much.